E-bikes, as great as they are, ramming in as much time as possible out on the trails in a short space of time. There's always going to be time to brush up on those skills. Be it 10 minutes at the top of a climb waiting for your non-EMTB mates to get there, or half hour you've got just before your Sunday dinner. If you get out, hit the streets, learn these techniques, you're going to be amazed next time you hit the trails. So drops, something you'll find loads of when you're out riding on the streets. Anything from, curb height up to whichever size. If there's a landing, it's all good to go. Something like this is ideal, it's tapered all the way, so as you go along, it's getting bigger and bigger. If you can just go halfway and pull off, or drop off the end, you're going to be expanding on your skills, getting bigger drops. Really good ledge to learn on this. Let's have a look at some of the techniques now. So for the drop-off technique, all we're doing is coasting into this drop with good speed. Get your pedals nice and level. You don't want to be pedaling along as you're coming along here. Get set up. So as we're nearing that drop, what we're doing is doing a big weight shift forward, compressing that suspension. And then as the front wheel comes to the edge of the drop, we're lifting up hard, lifting that front wheel high, whilst transferring our weight backwards on the bike to continue almost like a mini manual off the wall. If we're landing on flat, we try and land back wheel first, absorbing that shock of landing with the bike suspension and your body, your knees, elbows, trying to absorb as much shock as possible. If we're landing into a down slope, which I mean a down like a bank to land into, what we do is the same technique, but as the bike dips into the landing, we kind of do a weight shift towards the front to let that bike dip into the landing. So it's the smoothest thing you can do. If you can match whatever transition you're landing into, you're going to land the smoothest and it'd be less shock to you and your bike. So the track stand's a really good skill to have on your e-bike. It's really good for setting up sections, maybe like a hill climb where you come to a crest, you've got a flat bit and a mega technical bit in front of you. Just gives you a chance for your mind to adjust, think about what you're going to do and how you're going to attack that next bit of trail. So the track stand on your e-bike is actually slightly different than your regular trail bike. What happens is when you're putting those little correction stabs in on your e-bike, the motor's kicking in, your torque sensors are noticing the cranks are moving and wanting to activate that motor, pushing you forward. The way we're going to combat that is using more brakes and just being more gentle on those cranks, not putting a lot of weight through those cranks, more using your body to counteract that balance. So for the track stand, we're coming into it, pedals level, just give a little crank, get that front wheel up the bank. Pick a focus point. Sometimes people like to look ahead, some people like to look down. Just find which works for you. Basically, we're just rocking that bike slightly on the cranks. You don't actually need your brakes, as you can see. You've got that uphill, which is basically doing the braking for you. You just rock that bike, just try and match your pelvis. If the bike's falling one way, you match it back the other way. It's basically turning your pelvis and your upper body, just trying to keep that bike as still as possible. And as I say, there's a rooty section up above, you'd be ready. You can just load it up, get on that power and go. So when you're out on the streets, you're going to find a ton of corners on your ride, maybe to work or out on your street session. Making the most of those turns with good technique is going to transfer across to the trails as well. So here's a nice 180 flat turn. So as I'm coming down into this 180 corner, I'm scrubbing my speed off on entry. I'm having a quick look at the corner and the exit to work out how tight that corner is. Coming in, as I come into the corner, I'm out nice and wide, lifting that inside pedal up, looking down, tilting that bike in, looking on my exit and getting on the power as I exit the turn. It's a good cornering technique. It's always good to remember, slow in and fast out. Just make sure you're in a good gear to get the most out of that turn. If you're in too high a gear, you're going to bog down. If you're in too easy gear, you're going to be spinning. So just get that gear right and be flying out those turns. So ledges, you're going to find lots of those around on the street too. Really good way of learning that front and rear wheel lift. What it does when you're on the trail is going to get you over those fallen logs, any debris that you're going to find on the trail where you need to lift that front wheel and the back wheel up. This is a really good way of dialing those techniques in. So ideally when you're learning to get up ledges, you want to find a nice low ledge, something that isn't going to actually hit your chainring or your motor casing. Something about as high as this is ideal. When you do go to lift up, just ensure that that motor or chainring isn't going to hit that ledge, because if it does, you're going to bend your chainring, possibly bash your motor. and that's not good when you're out on your e-bike. So for this technique, I'm actually in a low power setting. Why I've done that is because if you're in a turbo or a boost setting, as you approach that ledge and you go to put the last final crank in, that bike's going to lurch forward. It's going to really mess with your timings. So actually dial that power down. It's going to make this a lot easier. So as I approach the ledge, I'm coming in with my bad foot forward, focusing on where I'm going to put my front wheel on that ledge. As I focus on that point, I transfer to my good foot, big weight shift forward, lifting and helping that back wheel up onto the ledge. Doing that by scooping my feet down, back and up, and lifting that back wheel up onto the ledge. The more help you can give it, the smoother it's going to be. So next we're going to be stepping it up, going to that next size ledge. If you've had no problems on learning this, I'd just take it up a few inches by inches. Don't go like huge, because you're going to risk damaging your motor or bashing your frame. As you can see on this ledge, it's that bit bigger. It's actually going to hit my motor casing really close to my chainring, so I'm going to need good technique for this. So for getting up these bigger ledges, it's actually the same technique. You just amplify each movement. Give more rear wheel lift, give more front wheel lift, make that front wheel, when it taps, more explosive. Just everything is amplified more. So another really good technique to get dialed is the side hop. How the side hop works out on the trail is, imagine him flying down the track, you're getting a big tractor rut and you need to get out of it fast. If you get this technique dialed, it's going to get you out of trouble easily. So for the side hop, what we do is we come alongside the wall, roll in speed, good foot forward, focusing on a spot on that wall where we want to make the hop. So we approach that spot, we compress the bike down, similar to a bunny hop, squashing that bike suspension. Focusing on that wall, we hop up whilst giving the bars and your hips a flick to whichever direction you want to make that bike move. Placing the front and the rear wheel upon that wall, nice smoothly, focus in, ride along that ledge and drop off. So grass banks, you're going to find them everywhere on the streets. They're a really good way of practicing your climbing technique, trying different power modes, trying different cadence, just delivery, power, grip. Lots of different ways to challenge you on these banks. Let's take a look at some of those ways now. So some things you can do to challenge yourself on these grass banks is try them in different power modes. Start from eco, working your way up to a standard or trail mode, then try and boost. Just see the different ways you can attack that hill. You can also challenge yourself by short run-ups. You can challenge yourself by turning sideways on that hill and trying to still climb that climb. Make a 180 on that hill, up and down, and switch back. You know, these grass banks are a really good way of dialing in that climbing technique. So the first thing I'm going to do, this bank, limited run up, it's going to be really hard, it's going to be a fast start, probably going to want a wheel spin, so I'm going to have to harness that power, get my grip right, and hopefully make it to the top of the bank. So next challenge is going to start sideways on this hill, same climb, but I'm coming into it sideways. So I'm going to need to work on my footwork, getting that power down again, getting the grip, focusing on top of that climb. Let's see how this one goes. So my next challenge for myself is going to be this 180 hill climb. Similar sort of thing as you're going to find at your trail centre actually. A lot going on here. We're going to be talking about pedal strikes, grip loss, traction, lines. So let's just give it a go, see how we get on with this one. So just nice power delivery, keeping it on, looking up the bank and away.
A few things to note on flat uphill switchbacks. First is line choice. Don't be over concerned with the line choice. Focus more on the flow around the corner, a nice smooth arc to get you around and up the hill. Secondly is be careful of your inside pedal, because a lot of the time there might be some stumps or some roots or rocks on the inside, or simply the track has worn a groove, so it's quite easy for you to catch your pedal as you're pedaling around the corner.
So I really hope you've enjoyed this video today. Don't forget, if you want to watch more content, check out how to get the most out of your e-bike at the bike park, one of my recent vids. Also remember to give us a thumbs up, drop any comments in the box below, and remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already.